so we can get that cold open.
That dank cold open.
We're just gonna do it live.
Stormy's gonna be drooling on me very soon. He's in his drooling stance. Oh, Rayven has cats too.
Yeah.
Of course you do. Oh, please. Of course you do. The last person we talked to, as a joke, I was going to be like, so tell me about your cats. And before I could, they started telling us about their cats.
Vicar.
Yeah.
I got two. One, Bear, who's very aloof, who's my cat, and Phineas, who's a troublemaker, who's my spouse's cat.
At my year-round job where it's babysitting, but it's not babies, they're adults with disabilities. They have a cat named Phineas.
Uh-huh.
Phineas Von Finn, also known as a giant potato.
Potato boy.
Phineas is a very good name for a cat. They usually just call him Finn, but he's a huge, huge cat, but he has the squeakiest meow. It's so funny.
He's a little bigger than Bear, but like he's not huge. But he's a troublemaker.
I love troublemaker cats. Just like the man who my husband just had to pry out of the recycling box because there were cat food cans in there.
What a silly / permanently hungry guy.
Yeah, Robin has finally experienced what it's like to be at my house with Stormy behind a door and food on the other side of the door. And it's a lot of screaming.
Yeah, he's crazy, but we love him.
Oh, I love this man. You smell bad.
Oh, my cats are so stinky. They love to play in litter.
My friend Cortez in the UK uses the pine pellets, and Cortez's cat, Lion, loves to take a pellet out and bat it around the entire house. Like, it's Lion's favorite thing to do. She is an old woman, and the only time until recently she ever wanted to play, it was never with toys, it was with pine pellets.
Bear randomly smells like maple syrup, but he's never gotten into maple syrup. I'm like, why do you always smell like syrup?
I've had a professor whose cat smelled like popcorn.
I'd rather popcorn.
We all good to get started, though?
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey brats, my name is Robin and I'm trans.
My name is Ben and I'm trans.
And you are listening to Ben and Robin Are Trans, the Brat Pod. We have a guest with us today. Her name is Rayven. We know her through our Discord, which you should all get on if you're not on already. But we've had an opportunity to chat with her a fair amount, like in our community before now. I had a realization the other day, because Rayven actually has like a podcast about being a veteran who's also queer called the Rainbow Veteran. Rainbow Vet or Rainbow Veteran?
The Rainbow Veteran.
Veteran, okay. I thought so, but I wasn't positive. So if you type in Rainbow Vet, then you get gay veterinarians. So
which is also
fun.
I support.
Ben has a gay vet.
Yeah, she's a lesbian and her girlfriend is trans.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah. But anyway, that was a very brat aside there. Without further ado, Rayven, in your own words, how would you like to describe your own gender? I love that answer. That is peak gender, by the way.
Peak gender.
I always kind of like describe myself as like a chapstick lesbian. Hang on, let me actually get the hat in it too.
I'm a chapstick trans man. I support you.
I should probably use more chapstick lesbian, but generally I'm wearing lipstick now. I do like, okay, we don't need to get into that. we can talk skincare later.
So yeah, I don't know. It's in a weird way. I feel like it's very much like how my mom is. Like my mom always said, like her only eyeliner was just the grease from working on the cars. Like I feel like I'm very much like my mom as like, oh, I'm kind of a masculine woman.
Is your mom a lesbian or is she just like super cool?
She's just super cool.
But it would be cool if she was a lesbian though.
Yeah, I didn't like. It's kind of funny because like she accidentally signaled with the carabiner, and she's like, "Man, a lot of these lesbians keep hitting on me." I'm like, "Mom, you're signaling you're a top and you're 6'1".
Does she have a Subaru?
No, I wish.
Okay.
How many dogs?
Hang on. Luna, Lupin,
Oh my god, that is
Toph.
also the correct answer.
5? I think they're at 5 right now, and I think 8 cats. They have a farm, so they got a lot of animals.
Your mom may not be a lesbian in sexuality, but she's still a lesbian in culture. That's so cool. She sounds like a fun person to hang out with.
Yeah, she really is. She's also a vet. Like, both my parents are vets, so, like, I think it's kind of like a family tradition.
Oh. So, your pronouns are she, her, correct?
That's correct.
We always like to start off the episode with a moment of trans joy. Do you have any ones in mind that you want to share? And we're just like always going to have a lot now because we're just like unlimited release of trans joy.
I don't know if it's trans specific, but it's very queer joy.
You're trans, it's trans joy.
Fair enough. Me and my spouse are polyamorous. We have 2 other partners that we both share. One is in a different state right now, but one's in our area. And it was just like we were all talking and being like, we could all just like live together. Our house is big enough. And then it just kind of became a conversation. I was like, okay, well, you'll move in this room, we'll have this room. And it's just slowly become like this whole like conversation about, oh, we're actually planning this. Okay, my heart's exploding right now. I'm so happy.
Congratulations! You're gonna need a bigger bed for the big slumber party nights.
I just
Unless you already have a huge bed.
we have a queen, but like we live in a row house, so like it's a lot of stairs. So trying to get a bigger bed up the stairwell is just not a feasible thing.
That's fair. Well, I'm sure Cuddle Puddles will still work in a queen bed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's really, really great. Congratulations. It's so cool that you share partners too.
It just kinda happened, like, we were always like, we stayed separately, we never really, like, try to make any, like, triads or quads, I guess, is what we're considered, but it was just like, "Oh, wow, I'm falling for this person too. Whoops."
Mhm.
Ben is only poly in Stardew Valley, but we did talk to our first poly guest the other day, so
That's awesome.
I'm glad we're getting like extra representation now. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took us 7 months to actually do an interview with someone who's poly.
Yeah, right.
Just because it is a totally valid and pretty prevalent thing in the world right now, not just with queer people, but in general.
And especially in this economy.
Yeah, the more people you can get in on a mortgage, the better.
Yeah.
Or rent or whatever.
Ben, do you have a trans joy?
It's kind of overshadowed by drama in my medical life, but I guess I'll go with just, it's not exactly trans joy, but I had 2 cis with an asterisk friends show me a lot of support today. Shout out to Chip and Matt for making sure I was good because my day was way better because of them.
I would have friends like that.
I love both of them too.
Yeah, they're both really great. Matt came over and kept me company for a few hours, made me watch sumo with him. So now I can say I've watched sumo. And then we just vented about executive orders. And then while he was here, Chip called to check in about stuff. It was just really good.
Yeah, that's nice. I have a fresh one from today too. It's a really simple one, which are honestly a lot of times the best ones. But I had a meeting at work today, and because I was just like popping in for a meeting, it wasn't like I didn't have to go in uniform or whatever. We're just kind of like sitting and talking for an hour. So I just like wore like my normal clothes that I would wear, not my work uniform, like my home uniform, basically, what I'm wearing now. And I had so many coworkers be like, wow, you look so pretty today, and like complimented and everything, which is really nice, especially since I wasn't dressing up for it. It was just like my regular clothes and everything. Like,
You've
it's
curated a really nice wardrobe, though.
thank you. I definitely have a personal style. Yeah. And like I ended up once I actually like transitioned, finding out that I'm honestly like a girly girl, which I didn't necessarily see coming until I was like open to exploring all of that. And like, yeah, I enjoy it. A lot
Awesome.
of fun skirts.
Yeah, you're the skirt queen of my life.
But it's those small, like, little, like, victories where we gotta find the joy in, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Raven, why don't we talk about just like your original, like finding yourself and then like coming out experience? Like,
Yeah.
when did you first figure out that you were trans?
Geez, I don't even remember what year it was. So I was in college, I wanna say it was either 2015 or 2016. I was originally growing my hair out after growing up my entire life as, like, a military brat, and then going into the military, I always had, like, high and tights. It was just easier for me, especially in the South where it was hot. And then going to, like, school at, like, Central Pennsylvania, I was like, "Yeah, let me try growing it out." It's not as hot up here. So, I tried growing it out, and it was getting shaggy, and my girlfriend at the time was like, "Oh, here, let me part it and put this little flower braid in your hair." And they're like, "Oh, you kinda look like a girl." And I was like, what's this immense feeling of joy that is welling up inside me? We don't have time to figure that out right now." Um, and it was the summer session after we broke up that, like, I had a lot of time alone, and I was like, "Well, guess I should go to the LGBT resource center and talk to some of the other trans folks to kinda get their insight on things." So it was around
Mhm.
that around 20 I would say roughly around 2016 is when I started figuring it out.
We're on like the same timeline. It was 2016, I think. Or no, 2016 when I really started leaning into that side of YouTube.
Yeah, it did.
YouTube started leaning into you.
YouTube helped a lot. There was this, what's their name? C Dressa, I think, from New Zealand. Was like a lot of the videos I was watching at the time, trying to
Mhm.
figure out, and had a lot of like great tips and everything. So like, oh, okay.
Mine was Jamie Dodger, or Jamie Rains, a trans mask in the UK, or trans man, I should say. Trans mask and trans man. He really got me in there. And then, like, through his friends, I started, like, finding a whole community of cool trans creators.
Mhm. Mine was, well, the one I watched a lot of was Ash Hardell back in the
Hmm.
day, but I like a lot of random people too. And this is like Brat lore too. I think I talked about this in the very first episode, but like I remember years ago watching a YouTube video that was like I don't remember who it was anymore, but it was basically called like how to find out if you're trans or something along that lines. And the first thing they say is, "You're watching this video, you are trans, probably."
Yeah, if you look that up, you you should know.
Mm. Most cis people are not like researching if they're trans or not. I'm not saying never, but
When you go on like those like BuzzFeed level quizzes, like, am I gay?
I am.
so yeah. How long was it like after having that experience before you like officially came out?
Let's see. I think once I figured out, so I originally identified as gender fluid, and it was around that time where I was kind of getting like used to it. So I made a Tumblr account um, and a webcomic about it actually.
Cool.
That I think that was like probably fall 2016. I didn't come out to my parents yet. I was still more kind of like exploring the whole thing myself. I did let my mom know. I was like, "I don't think I'm a guy." I don't know what I am though at that time. But my parents were cool about it. They're like, "Okay, just like let us know. It's gonna be new for us too, but just like let us know what we could do to be supportive."
Oh,
Um,
That's amazing.
I didn't. I think 2019. I think when I fully figured out that like I was holding on to like the masculine identity as like a safety thing. So, I think it was around 2018, 2019 when I was like, "Oh, I'm a trans woman." Um, and I've been just living as one ever since.
That's really cool. I think there's no shame in taking time to explore all the options to figure out which box you fit in.
yeah. Also, you did all this before 2020, right?
Yeah, you're ahead of the curve.
Breaking the mold.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was my 22nd birthday, so that would have been 2017 in March. I started estrogen, tablets, which is a
You
great
started on
birthday
your
present.
birthday?
Yeah.
That's
Aw.
so fun.
Your trans birthday is your regular birthday.
And eventually when I was picking out my name, my name is actually super similar to my legal name. I kept the Ray part because I'm personally named after my great grandfather. So I wanted to keep that. I was like, "Hey, mom, can you pick me a new middle name? Because I don't want to be named after my biological father in any way, shape, or form. Because screw him."
Mood.
So she picked Quinn for me, which I think is very fitting.
Oh,
It's a
that's cute.
beautiful name.
Yeah. And this was all after you left the service too, right?
Yes, I was mostly figured out with my sexuality while I was in the service, but I just didn't think about my gender till like way later.
So, what was that experience like? We haven't gotten into the military topic yet at all, but first of all, what branch did you serve in?
I was Navy. Yeah.
I'm a Navy brat.
I was either gonna go Navy because my stepdad or Air Force because my grandfather. And the Air Force recruiter was never there, so I went Navy. It was I will say the being in I was very open about who I was at the time. Um,
Yeah.
it was very weird because when I signed my delayed enlistment program paperwork, because I was in high school still when I signed the dotted line, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still just freshly abolished. So there was a lot
Okay.
of nuance and everything changing in the landscape. And it was weird, I will say a bit, because like when you're in basic, it was nice, everyone like kinda open. I made jokes about it, but, like, nothing super, disparaging, but it was definitely a weird landscape when I got out in, like, A school and then into the fleet because there was a lot of people who you could still tell weren't super comfortable, um, and some who just didn't know what to do, but, I mean, altogether, I didn't have any issues. I count myself lucky that I don't have any major issues from the fact that I was openly, bisexual at the time. Is before I figured out what I, like, learned what pan was, which is a more fitting label for me. It wasn't horrible, but I will also put it a caveat, my time in the service was very short.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
you were, I'm assuming, just freshly 18 when you went in, and you were already in college at 22.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
so,
that's like just one billet. Is that how they'd phrase it?
it's one tour or one
One tour,
contract.
yeah.
So I got out when I was 19. Um, so I unfortunately was in that era where the Navy was oversaturated, and if they had any excuse to discharge anyone and not keep them in, they would. This is 2013, 2014. And so I got hurt and still don't know. We're still trying to figure out what's the cause of it, but I have bone marrow edema in my left ankle. So
Mhm.
the bone marrow is swelling and filling with fluids, but we can't figure out why.
That sounds painful as hell.
Oh yeah, especially on these cold days, it gets really bad.
And
Um,
before Robin came in, you were talking about how you want to go for walks when it gets warmer. Yeah, no wonder you don't want to go out, especially in the cold.
yeah, especially with like 6 feet of snow.
Ugh. Kind of like the snow, but also I kind of don't want to be out in it. I only like it if I get to be inside the whole time.
Exactly, and that's exactly how I am right now. I did suffer, unfortunately, one mental health event, which I didn't realize till years later. I guess I blocked it and I didn't realize it. So I do have a PTSD base rating for assault. I'll just say it that way. Um, which unfortunately is a higher statistic than I would like for the military.
There's a lot of sketchy stuff that could go on. Like, my husband is in the Coast Guard and he's never been assaulted in it, but like when he was on boats, if they were going up a ladder, like the guys under them would reach up and like slap the insides of their thighs and go, rudder. And like, that's not cool.
Hmm.
And if that's like typical everyday normal, then like the bad stuff has got to be so bad.
Yeah, and it's rough, and I'm hoping like what I'm doing outside of like my podcast and like the volunteer work I do is hopefully, knock on wood, working to address that and kind of make it less of a thing for future sailors and airmen and soldiers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to be rough to live in having gone through some stuff. So thank you for doing that. That's got to be hard.
It is when like if I can mentally prepare for like talking about things and be like, oh hey, this is kind of like a thing. It's a lot easier for me to deal with, but when it's kind of just hey, this is a thing we're going to bring up in this meeting. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't in the notes.
Yeah, I'm not mentally prepared for this. Don't do this to me. I get that.
Yeah, we've done the same thing with our podcast. Like we used to schedule around like, will this topic be too triggering for us? Like,
Yeah, we'd record like
yeah.
3 episodes in a day, and it'd be like, okay, one heavy one between 2 light ones.
I get that. And I'm trying to do what I can to stay positive, and I'm, going through therapy now, thankfully through the VA, and they're actually doing a lot of. I'm in a good area, so like their VA hospital being in a metropolitan area is doing a lot of good help and everything. So
Yeah, they can be real hit or miss.
yeah, I feel like it's more of just the bigger the area, the better it is. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it sucks for the rural veterans.
Mhm.
Especially because even to get to a VA, a lot of them probably have to travel quite a ways just to get to an appointment. And then it's not even going to be a good appointment for some.
I mean, I could bring up my parents with that. My parents live like 3.5 hours from where I live in very rural area. Like their neighbors are Amish. That's how rural the area is. They have to drive an hour and a half for the smaller VA system, but if like something big needs them, they have to come out towards I am. So
Do they get to stay with you when they do that at least?
sometimes they'll come and visit, sometimes we're like, my mom's just too tired, it's like, "I'm just gonna go right back, but I just wanna let you know I'm in the area, love you." But they never stayed the night or anything like that, which I think is because my little sister being homeschooled and everything, they kinda keep a routine with that, so.
Routines are nice.
Mm.
I love a routine. How common is it for veterans to use the VA? Just because, like, the only veteran I've ever really had a close relationship with is my dad, and I don't remember him ever doing anything with the VA.
I will say it's gotten a lot easier for veterans to use the VA, and depends on what they're using it for. For a veteran to use like any like the general care, like for me to basically just everything is through the VA now. You have to have like a 30% VA rating. So some of them don't because of that. Don't even like make an attempt to. Others it's just they have bad experiences because of those smaller VAs or their area just underfunded or understaffed. So I think it's a hit or miss veteran to veteran case. For me, since I am rated so high, I'm using it as my predominant service because insurance is too expensive.
Yeah. What just flashed through my head was a picture of Luigi Mangione with the phrase "Daddy, I love him." um,
But Daddy, I love him.
yeah, I love that meme so much. Um, I'm not saying I condone it, but that meme's pretty good.
It's a very hit or miss system, unfortunately, and that I feel like that's a lot of things with the government.
Oh yeah, especially these days. Um, how many other queer people were in the Navy when you were there? Because I've heard that it can be pretty gay up in there, in the Navy and the Coast Guard.
It gets pretty gay. I have spent some time growing up as a military brat. I grew up in Southeast Virginia, so I was in like a bunch of different military bases. They're all kind of gay in a way, I will say. Um, it doesn't help the stereotype that 3 other people I served with in the Navy are also trans women. So it doesn't.
There's a lot of trans women in the military, trans men too.
Yeah, I think the
And it's not gay if you're underway, or it's not queer at the pier.
Yes, those things are sometimes accurate. I thought it was funny when I was in A school or tech school, depending on like what branch is kind of the same basics. But when I was in A school, I remember sitting on the couch with 2 of my buddies, and we all found out that we're all like bi guys at the time, and we just made a joke. It's like, oh, we're like in sync. It's bye bye bye.
That's so cute.
Bye bye.
Uh,
Have you ever done like a boat duty?
like a ship tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did. That was a big part of what I served, so I basically went from A school and then went straight onto a ship, which honestly, if I could, I would do again because I do miss the ocean air and everything, but it's a lot easier when you're single. I will say that.
Yeah. Sounds like your experience going from A school to a ship is exactly like my husband's was, but I asked because when he was on the boat, there would be like one little bunk room meant for like 6 people, and there would be like 15 dudes watching Pitch Perfect 2 on a tiny laptop and singing their heads off. So like I just think of boat and I think gay, and it makes me happy.
Yeah, the berthings on a ship, even the smaller, I was on a small ship. I was on a LSD, so we were a dock landing ship. So very small ship. But even the berthings on those, like, yeah, there's a little bigger than the Coast Guard cutters, but they pack us in pretty tight in there. It's not a lot of privacy.
Oh, it's so fun to hear about other people going on boats because I've only ever heard of from one person going on a boat. And I think boats are kind of cool. I mean, I went
Just your
into
husband and Andy Samberg.
yeah, but I went into marine biology because I think the ocean is really cool. So when I talk to other ocean people, it makes me feel happy.
Yeah, I grew up next to like the Chesapeake Bay and like I was very always near water. So when we moved to Pennsylvania, I'm very landlocked. I still don't like how landlocked I am. But at least I'm near some rivers now.
The last time I was near a big body of water, I actually started crying because I was just like, oh, it just feels so good.
That air and just the waves, and I miss it.
It's lovely and it sounds so nice and it's just calming.
Crabs as far as the eye can see.
Well, the crabs I studied are under rocks, but I know that they're there. So rocks full of crabs as far as the eyes can see.
They're gregarious as fuck too.
Yeah, it just means that when they're babies, they're planktonic. And then when they get big enough to settle down, they have a chemical cue that makes them all find each other. And then they're in their own little cuddle puddle.
Oh, that's cool. Didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Brat crab lore.
Yeah. I'm a crab guy. I love them. Oh, Chris moved my mug I drank out of, but I was drinking out of a crab mug earlier.
Such a crabby guy. Do you like crab chips, Ben? I love crab chips.
I've never had crab chips.
Crab chips.
Let's have some
Crab
crab chips.
chips. Do you know what crab chips are? Crab
No.
chips are just potato chips with Old Bay seasoning on them,
Oh,
and
they
they're
sound
great.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a spot in my before I left my one of my previous jobs. One of my coworkers was like, "Hey, you're going back to your hometown in Virginia, right?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, stop at this gas station. They have the best crab chips. I will pay for you to buy me a bunch of them and give yourself a bag too. I see why he loves them so much. They are so good. I still have the bag. I haven't finished it yet because I'm like, I need to ration this as much as I can.
Can you send me a picture of the bag later
I was
so I
gonna
can
say,
find it?
yeah, do you remember what the brand is?
Oh yeah, it's Royal Farms gas station crab chips.
Okay.
Next time I'm driving through Maryland, because there's a lot there.
Yeah, bring some to my house, or if I go to your house, save some for me.
Let's talk about your podcast.
Yeah.
So the Rainbow Veteran, first of all, how did you originally get into podcasting? Like,
So with this specific podcast, me and my spouse already have a podcast that we do on our own kind of thing. So I've already had experience with it. So what happened was, I want to say early 2024, I saw this issue, kind of like Big Weld and robots, like you see a need, fill a need kind of thing. I was like, all this stuff going on, talking about the LGBT community, all this stuff going on legislatively that's talking about like veterans of the PACT Act. No one's really talking about the queer veterans. No one's talking about the issues that they specifically face. So I started a TikTok with that name as a handle, the Rainbow Veteran. And then as like time went on and I, made videos and comments and things, I'm like, there's a lot of nuanced details that I can't like, I'm either gonna make, like, 20 TikToks about, or I could just do one podcast episode. So I was like, "Alright, I'm just gonna get started on that," and that's kind of where the podcast came from.
I love that. There are so many queer veterans out there.
yes,
Have you ever been able? I haven't listened to your whole repertoire, and I think this one's pretty new.
Benjamin.
Have you been able to reach out to any like elder queer veterans who got kicked out before Don't Ask, Don't Tell yet? Because I would die to listen to that.
I am fortunate enough through, like, the one vet organization that I work with, there are some elder queer veterans. I haven't had them on my show yet, because I'm only on the 3rd episode. I'm gonna record the 4th one here soon, probably tomorrow, to be honest. But I'm trying to get its traction up first before I bring guests on. But I'm fortunate enough to where there was a LGBT veteran caucus within the organization that I'm like, once that's up and running a bit more, I want to bring in some of the elders from that and have them on the show.
Awesome. I can't wait. Hopefully this helps you get more listeners.
Fingers crossed, and I do appreciate you guys having me on. Like, I ended up finding the Discord because I found the podcast, but I honestly can't tell you how I found the podcast.
It was almost definitely TikTok if you're on there.
Probably, I would gather.
Robin's been running in circles around TikTok, finding all the cuties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We have so many friends that are friends from TikTok. And like specifically like with everything happening with TikTok now, like we've been setting up a lot of interviews with our TikTok friends, which is funny because I guess maybe you're an indirect TikTok friend because we actually met you through the server.
It was I think actually I was in the server very early when I think I started the Rainbow Veteran. I think the server was kind of a big push for me to start the TikTok account.
I'm glad you did because we need that
Yeah.
representation, especially with directions things are probably heading.
Mm-hmm.
And they're hurting so much for people in the military that they really don't need to be limiting their pool of options right now if they want to keep things at the scale that they want them at.
And it's interesting because like I've been on a couple lives and either watching them or joining in the guest box where not a lot of people realize that per capita the trans community itself is higher rates of service than cis hetero people
Yeah.
do. And I think it's 1 in every 5 trans person either served or is serving.
Yeah, there are a lot of us in the service and a lot of us in like very specialized jobs that are very expensive and time consuming to replace. So, like the higher up people in the military, even if they had anti trans views, when people talk about expelling all trans people from the military, like they're not cool with that because a lot of those people are literally irreplaceable.
Mhm. And it's like it's gonna hurt morale. I mean, you're basically I think what the rough estimate was is like 15,000 service members across all branches getting kicked out. I'm like, that's a few platoons worth of people that you're just gonna have exit. And, like, I was IT, I wasn't super high in my rate, but like I was still like a junior enlisted. But like still, like there was a lot of computer stuff we were doing and communication work that we were doing. And unfortunately, not a lot of people do IT for the military.
My
Yeah.
husband's one of them. You two are like brother and sister, I guess. You're cousins.
Hmm.
I
I
mean,
mean, he's barely military. He's Department of Homeland Security, let's be honest.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna cut the Coast Guard down. They do an important job. A couple years ago, I thought if I could re-enlist, I thought about going Coast Guard just so I can stay home with my partner and be closer to home instead of being like the likelihood of being on a ship was very lower because I was like, I'm not doing Marines or Army, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's been very safe. Like the most dangerous thing he's ever had to do was like do a hurricane support thing during the Omicron variant,
Mhm.
which, as far as dangerous situations in the military go, practically nothing. Um, they've been good to him mostly.
Yeah, and, like, honestly, like, I grew up in a coastal area, so, like, I've seen the Coast Guard do a lot of, like, relief work and everything. I will joke on the Coast Guard, I will break their backs, but I still have the utmost respect for them.
They joke about it too. It's okay, unless they are pretentious, in which case they need to calm down. Like the people who insist on calling it Coast Guardians.
No,
Like, no, calm down. You're a coastie.
it's okay, we all think we're important, but it's okay.
Actually, there's a Coast Guard bobblehead up right there. We found it in this weird little old guy's shop in a Riverside downtown area at like a junk shop. And it was like $6. We were like, this looks like you, even has green eyes. So we got him.
So while we're talking about the Coast Guard, so this is going to be an interesting episode because there's a lot of current events that have been happening, RE military. This morning, today is the January 21st, the day after the inauguration. And one of the first news articles I read in the morning was that the Commandant of the Coast Guard, who is also the first woman who has led the Coast Guard, has been fired. I believe the excuse that they gave were DEI related, like something along the lines of like she was basically like too pro diversity.
No. I did see an article about it. I think it was I didn't read it, to be honest. Because I get emails from, like, Navy Times and Military Times and military.com, and the other part was it was, like, that DEI hire and then assault rates or something like that, like, they were using that as the official excuse. Honestly, if they're using that as the official excuse to relieve her of her duty, or service, that is honestly the weakest argument I have ever seen because I believe the Marines actually have the highest rate of assaults per branch right now.
Yeah.
So why but because she's a woman, the Marines commandant, totally fine in his position, still there, but because she's a woman, and it's just
The woman is responsible for
mhm.
all the sexual assault.
It's very similar, to when, like, a captain gets relieved because I had 2 captains when I served. My first one actually got relieved very shortly after I joined the ship. It was a very similar situation, is anytime there's a leadership change at any level, it's take a step back, just act like everything is going forward, and we'll fix it as we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the words were just stick to the mission.
Mhm.
Whatever that mission is, defend and protect or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, is that didn't see? Is
It's
that
a
Luffy?
Luffy. Yeah. He's just out of the camera. He's crawled upon that.
Aw.
Luffy is a silly man. Robin has one of the rare all orange female cats,
Ooh.
and she is a menace to society, and I love her.
She's insane. Yeah. We have 2 orange cats who are brother and sister,
Aw.
which, yeah, we know what we were getting into. They're very crazy.
Most of my mom's cats are orange, so I feel you on that one.
I want one so bad, but I already have 3. Three's enough.
We got a collection.
I will say with the whole DEI thing, that really irks me, not to go on a huge tangent here, but it's kinda
Oh, I love
related.
it.
Please. That's what we're here for.
So, a lot of people think, "Oh, DEI is just for people of color, it's just for LGBT people, it's for people with disabilities," and I'm gonna tent hand here on my desk. Not a lot of people realize that veterans are also DEI hires, and a lot of us get our jobs in very similar fields because we have that veteran status next to our name. Like here in Pennsylvania, I don't have to have certification to become IT in the civilian world. It is easier and better if I do because, it makes sure that I understand the standard. But, they see, oh, Navy veteran IT. They're like, okay, cool. You had the training. We can get you into an entry level position at least easier to kind of see where you're at. And so it's very frustrating when I see the toxic vet bros out there going, "Oh, we need to get rid of it." I'm like,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. You want to make your own life harder? Go nuts, but
yeah.
don't do it to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's scary. It is so scary.
How I sign off each episode is I've been always giving like a reminder in a way for myself, but kind of for others is stay safe, stay hydrated, stay vigilant is my tagline at
Yeah.
the end of every episode. And I feel like we kind of need that now.
This kind of segues a little bit into what Robin wanted to rant about. Is stay safe, stay hydrated, stay vigilant, but to a certain degree, if it's safe, stay visible. Hello, friends. This is Ben and Robin from the future.
The
Um,
future.
the future, and we want to tell you about something cool we've been working on.
It's called Transhope United.
It is, and it's a
Yes.
website at transhopeunited.com.
It's like 2 things. We're doing like a creators collective, which is sort of like a podcast network kind of thing, but more socialist vibes. We're just kind of trying to provide a space where we can help each other out because trans creators, we're mostly poor. We're not getting ad revenue or anything. And so it's a way to kind of help boost each other. And we're also going to, as we bring more people on, do like some kind of subscription service.
Yeah, and it's not going to be us putting any of our content behind a paywall.
Mhm.
It's going to be ways that people who have the means to help us out, and we'll try to give you little goodies that aren't necessarily content, but maybe I'll send you a crocheted thing or a postcard. But then also, if you are a creator, you could consider joining us because basically we want to work together where we can fill in each other's gaps, not in a sexual way. But that sounded sexual. But like Robin's really good with audio stuff, and then Valentine Valcourt's really good at website stuff. I don't know what I'm good at, but I'm here to help. And we just help each other out, and then maybe by working together, it'll help each of us independently get ad revenue that we would get to use to sustain ourselves and our projects.
But also, if you go to directory.transhopeunited.com, we have started doing a whole directory that's resources for trans people. So, like, you can actually go on now and you can search for it. You can look through tags and categories. You can go on and submit your own entries too. So, we're able to, like, actually, as a community, help get these resources out there for each other.
I almost cried again, talking about how much I love Robin. I'm always crying over lesbians over here.
I'm glad to hear like you guys are close. Like I'm fortunate enough that I have an acquaintance who is also a trans veteran in my area that we're in that like same organization. But like we have plans for coffee, but unfortunately either work or me getting sick because I'm chronically getting sick lately has been making it hard.
But it's going to be really nice when it finally happens.
Mhm.
I'm really lucky that Matt, my boss and my friend who came over today, he was just like, "You seem like you get along with my friend group. You should come to the pumpkin carving." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And there was Robin.
Yeah. He's like, gender?
Oh, he always knows. He's one of us, even if he's not one of us.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
All of his employees are queer, and he's a member of the broader community, so he's got a good sense about him.
Sounds like the I don't know, is it like a beautician thing? I don't know. I know they do laser hair removal. I also know they do haircuts and stuff. They do a lot of like beauty-based stuff, but it's actually a queer-owned business and all the employees are queer, like just up the road from me. And I'm like, I should probably go there, but I don't get my nails done.
Yeah, especially if you like working with your hands. Getting your nails done might feel like a waste of money. Your nail polish chips.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to get my nails done. Not allowed.
I don't
That's
work in
true,
food
but
anymore.
when you do, it's fun
Yeah.
on long weekends. But no, I work like with a bunch of biologists, and just biologists are queer. I don't make the rules. I just notice trends.
Every last one, even if they're not.
Yep, that's true. Oh, we're all so sleepy. I wish I was more high energy.
You're good.
I
I just
know.
noticed my cat would jumped up on the windowsill and I was like, are you gonna make it this time or are you gonna thud?
It's funny when they thud, as long as they're not hurt, then it's like, hee hee, you silly idiot. This one does that.
It's Bear. He's so Bear's our rescue and Finn's our adoptee, essentially, kind of. So Bear, we got him from a friend's rescue that a friend of a friend was running, and he's got a scar on his in his eye, like in his pupil.
Oh,
That he
baby.
got from an infection when he was a kitten. You can't really see too well out of that eye. Luckily, this house, the floor is wood and the walls are white, so you can kind of tell the difference where the wall starts. But if the wall and the carpet are too similar, he used to run head first into the wall.
His depth perception is broken, and
It
I get
really
it.
is.
Mine is too. I love him. I
He's
want a one-eyed cat.
he's a good cat. Not the brightest bulb in the bunch, though.
Stupid cats are my favorite. Someday I really want a stupid dog with a giant head. That's my
As
dream.
as I've said before, I have 2 orange kittens, so I get that.
I think you
They
would.
share the brain cell.
I think you would like my mom's blue nose pit bull.
Stupid and big head.
Yeah.
I love pit bulls. They are so sweet.
Every time I come home, like visit my parents, she's sitting there in her kennel, just like wagging her tail, doing a little happy dance. I'm like, "How you doing?"
I like when pit bulls shake the entire back half of their body because they're so happy. It's not just their tail, it's their whole back half. And then like they're barely able to stay still in their front half because they're wagging so hard that like the momentum is like jerking their front half around. Oh, they're so silly. And drooly. I love a drooly. Not too drooly, but just drooly enough.
We love a Drooly King.
Drooly king right here. And me too sometimes.
By the way, this is the first interview we've done like after the inauguration. So the only recording we've done was like a really weird but nice D&D game that we played yesterday.
It was cathartic.
That's good.
Our friend Briar, who you probably know from the server, is our GM, and they made us a custom like creature called Treelon, who is like a combination of Donald Trump and Elon Musk that we could
Two
just like
heads.
beat the absolute loving shit out of.
Yeah, Robin shot it
Oh.
with her longbow and happened to get one of the heads in the ear, which was really funny.
So we the real reason to be poly here is about to come up. So me, my spouse, and our partner all, and eventually our girlfriend when she moves in, we all play D&D. So I run the regular D&D campaign, but my spouse is hopefully, fingers crossed, is going to run a Fallout based campaign here soon. Those are going to be kind of fun, and I feel like they're things we need right now.
That sounds amazing.
I just watched the Fallout show starting New Year's Eve, and I'd never played a Fallout game, but I've carried a Fallout Messenger bag for 2 years because Matt gave it to me for Christmas, trying to get me to play something besides Stardew Valley. But I am loving all the lore I've been learning on YouTube because I don't like playing games that aren't Stardew Valley. But I do like learning about all the vaults. They're crazy.
If you get the DLC for Fallout 4, you can build your own vault. So if you like
Okay.
Stardew, at least get that portion.
You might have made the most convincing argument yet. After the entire time I've known Matt and the entire time since I found Stardew, both Matt and Chris have been like, what other game do you want? Chris is like, I'll get you whatever game you want on Steam. You just tell me what game you want. And I'm like, But are there any asexual shadow monsters? Because I love Krobus. I don't know if you know Stardew, but
Yeah.
Krobus, he lives in the sewers. He's very cute.
There is a asexual synthetic man known as a synth who has the personality of a 1920s detective.
Okay, that's fun. Matt's gonna be so mad when he finds out someone else convinced me that Fallout sounds fun. He's gonna be so mad. It's gonna be great because he is my as close to a biological brother as I will ever have. He treats me exactly like he would treat a little brother. So I can't wait for the brother rage.
I love Silo though. I keep trying to get people to watch Silo.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either.
It's very similar to Fallout, but was like created a very long time before Fallout. I don't know when it was written, but anyway, it's very good.
I might see if I can find it outside of the Apple TV system because I don't have it.
I might have to get my friend's Apple TV login.
Password sharing is the future. It's the present. It is also the past.
We support queer reparations here.
I support trans rights and trans wrongs, especially when those wrongs are not hurting anybody and you're just watching some TV. Just get a VPN, please.
Yes.
Also, if there's a VPN company listening, please sponsor this podcast. If there's Surf Shark, maybe ours would be Surf Shart.
Okay. Yeah.
Named after me.
Right. That can be our like discount code.
Yeah. Not sponsored.
Yeah.
Yet.
Little miss on the using the blow high in some facet with that.
We'll find a way. We'll work. So, Rayven, while we have you, are there any other like soapboxes that you would like to stand on? Like, what's on your mind right now?
Oh, okay. Here we go. I got one actually. It's related.
Yes.
The ERA and the ratification lacking thereof. I don't know how much you know about the ERA or the Equal Rights Amendments ratification. Historically, there's never been a time limit pushed on any amendment ratification. But during the 70s and 80s, they pushed that on the ERA. And at the time, it didn't get enough yeses on it. But in 2020, it did finally get the last one, the 38th state, which was Virginia.
Nice.
But unfortunately, because there was a time limit on there, the archivist is not letting it go through. But the problem is, like, it's weird because I kind of see, like, I understand that, like, some states probably aren't going to currently vote the same way that they did. But also at the same time, there's no constitutional measure stating there's a limit or a minimum time or a maximum time. It just states how it's supposed to be voted on. So if it has a 38th because it's super vague, I think it should pass and become the 28th Amendment.
Mhm.
Whether it took like a few decades or not, I don't think that's really pressing. So I think that is a huge thing that's one of my big soapboxes I'm on right now.
I'm really glad that you brought that up because that's not something I've heard much about.
And it's seemingly very innocuous too. It's literally just giving women constitutional rights.
And it's not just women, like, giving them rights, it's protection based on sex, and it's a basis for, like, any legal protection. It's the baseline for LGBT community, women's rights, like, it's a base for a lot of potentially good stuff that should help us down the road with stuff going on. And I've made several phone calls to the National Archivist and being like, "Hey, I have 2 different copies of the Constitution. I've had one since I was in the military. There's nothing about the term limits of the ratification. You should push it."
Mhm.
If you're listening, call. Call today. Call
Call
right
today.
now.
Call now.
I might have to look into how to make that call and like how to word it. So I sound like a big smart pants. Because the more who do it, the more they have to
Mhm.
listen.
I know it took me a few like, when Biden said that the ERA is the law of the land, even though that was more just a moral gesture and, like, a supportive gesture than anything. When that happened and a lot more people were getting in, like, when I knew that that's where it stopped, I was like, "Okay, I'll try making a phone call." First 2 days, the line was just busy, so I'm like, "Okay, there's a lot of people doing this." I still think there's pressure that should still be applied, so definitely if you feel like you should call, definitely call. I'm not gonna say don't call, but it's definitely something that may still be an issue.
Good soapbox. Trans women are the smartest people on earth. I'll die on that hill. I'll say it probably every recording forever. So there. That's my soapbox.
I'm trying to take compliments better, so I will say thank you and not argue on that one.
I mean, every group has people who aren't the smartest in the world, but all the ones that have come on our podcast so far seem to be. None of the silly ones are in this room right now, unless you're counting me, and I'm not a trans woman, so I don't count.
Are you calling me not silly?
I mean, you're silly, but not in the smarts department.
I'm like legally speaking a silly little gal. Like it's literally in her profile.
Yeah, but you're also a smart, silly little gal,
Mm-hmm.
not just silly. Listen, I've had a day. I just got another thing
Yeah.
from my insurance saying that I don't have insurance and that I owe like $500 to my sleep study follow up. So that's fun. Hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't have much to do with TRICARE. I did more when I was growing up, so I will ask my parents who have more experience on that one to see if there's any advice they can give.
I'm pretty sure it's just when my name changed, they did not, even though I uploaded the new cat card type dependent ID thing, like they're just not actually processing it under my new name. So it's saying that I don't exist. I think I'm hoping is what happened. And as soon as they plug that back in there, hopefully everything will recalculate. Because I don't have like $578 for a lady to tell me if I have sleep apnea or not.
Mm.
Who does?
People in general are just not like prepared for dealing with basic name changes. Like there's so many like ridiculous issues. I guess I don't necessarily have to tell our audience, but
But it's weird, right? Because like, my spouse, they haven't legally changed their first name, but, like, when we got married, they had a lot of issues even with that, and I'm like, "This is how the system's set up, and why are you having
mm-hmm.
issues with it?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a last name change during marriage is like the most common way to change a name in this country by a mile. So why aren't you prepared? Systems? In fact, a mile might be underestimating it. It's probably like a light year.
There are just so many soapboxes that I go on. I could just like do a whole podcast where I just rant about Robin's like 500 soapboxes. Um,
We should have a soapbox episode.
we could definitely fill that time up. So let's plug your podcasts.
Sure.
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them? Okay.
Rainbow, yeah, both of them.
So
We
my
already talked about the Raven.
The Raven Rainbow. Yeah.
We've talked about the Raven Veteran podcast, the Rainbow Veteran podcast.
Yeah, so that one I'm still slowly getting places. I'm definitely on Spotify and YouTube, so those are the easier places to get. My other podcast that I do with my spouse, is called Smoking Out the Closet. We talk about being queer and stoners because we both use medical marijuana, and we were supposed to do an episode this week, but with everything going on, we took a mental break.
Yeah. Okay.
Chill
So
out with medical assistance all you need to.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with the name of that podcast too. It's perfect.
thank you. It was actually backstory on that one. It was supposed to be me and two of my coworkers at a restaurant I worked at because I was newer to using cannabis and they were newer being out and everything. So it was supposed to be just a show about us teaching each other.
Mhm.
And I was like, I need to make something witty. Wait a second. And it like hit me like when I was prepping
Mhm.
chicken for the day.
I wish I had that wit because I've been trying to come up with a creative name for me to sell crocheted stuff, and I gave up and picked something very boring, which is my initials and the word crafts. um, so I wish I was clever.
I'll come up with a name for you.
We'll see what happens. I might
I
be
like
locked
naming
in,
things.
but one of our friends from the community is making me a logo. That's
Nice.
going to be a D20, but with Stormy's tail and a cat face.
It's awesome.
And I'm excited. Shout out to Jade.
Jay.
Love
Yeah.
Jay.
So many great creative people in our community.
We got to be creative because we got to reinvent ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're just all creative in different ways, which makes it extra fun. We can all help each other and work together.
Oh, actually, could I plug that old webcomic I had on Tumblr? Because I think there's a lot of good information
Yes.
there.
Yes, I forgot to.
Augie, our friend Augie is gonna love that because they are our Tumblr person.
So it was called Changeling, but it's on the Gender Fluid Greer Tumblr blog. It is very old, I will say. It was very early in my transition. But there's a lot of good information there, I still feel like.
I can't wait to find it. If you could send us a
Yes.
link to that so we can make sure to put it in the
Oh,
description, that
definitely.
would be awesome.
Yeah, same, please do.
I love that.
We're gonna put links for everything to find you in the show notes, of
Yeah.
course. If you are out there and you are looking for a trans community, we are always open. Our Discord is like free, no paywalls or serious gatekeeping as long as you're like a cool person. Kind of back on what we were talking about earlier, if you are a trans person who is out or is thinking about coming out in a less safe environment, contact us. Again, the Discord is a good venue for that because we have a lot of friends in a lot of different places with different contacts and expertise. You can also contact Ben and I directly. And we are working on making connections with people so we have the resources so that if you're in a bad place, we can at least point you in the right direction. So if you don't have those people in your life, we
We'll
are
do that.
happy to help you find community.
And Raven's in there too.
And Raven is in there too.
And you've been
It's great.
amazing and a wonderful guest, and it was so fun to be queer at the pier with you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you all for having me.
I have a good one that rhymes with duck, but I'm not going to say it on air.
Does it involve a rooster?
And then that was the moment that I broke Raven.
This is now a docking podcast. Get ready.
Docking.
Hey, we're allowed to say whatever we want. No one's giving us any money.
Mhm.
And if they want to give us
Yeah.
money and they want to tell us not to say, if they want to tell me to calm down my impulse thoughts, then they can pay me too. Because that's the only way I can control myself.
Oh, and also if you are a queer service member or veteran out there, contact us too. Because number one, like we need to talk to more of you. This is hugely important and a weirdly underrepresented group, even though there's so many of you.
And we can connect you with Raven.
And we want to connect you with Raven too. So, and to all of the either new or regular listeners too on the YouTube, get in the comments. We just like mainly we want to hear your trans joy. It helps me when I'm going through and doing my like cleaning out of all the transphobic comments, first of all, but also it helps other people find you and like find the podcast in the community. So let's like blow up the comments with joy.
Or just tell us about your cats, because if you're trans, you probably have one. Or 3 or 8. I'm not judging.
And if you're a trans person out there who doesn't have a cat, like hang in there, you'll get there. you'll get that cat or a 3.
Or dog if you're allergic to cats, but not dogs, or rat, or a snake, or whatever. I like animals. Tell me about your jumping spider.
I mean, I'm allergic to cats. How many cat owners are not allergic to cats?
I am too. I have 3.
Thought so. I could feel that.
But also, we
Okay.
do have a jumping spider too.
I love it. I love Phidippus. That's the genus. But yeah, I'm so allergic to cats. I have this prescription strength ointment for my eyes. That's not supposed to go on eyes, but my eyes swell up so bad I have to use this one. Thanks, doctors.
All right. Thanks again, Rayven.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're extra unhinged today, but I'm also not sorry
Hey,
because
that's fine.
We are
welcome.
we are all like this right now, and it's okay.
Well,
Sorry, we're going through it.
I've loved getting to know you. I can't wait to chat with you more. And I'll try to remember next time I get up to take a picture of that silly bobblehead because it's very silly.
And I'll take a picture of Shamora for you, the spider we have.
I love it. I love spiders. They're so cute and they've got silly little mandibles and so many little eyeballs.
Well, I have been Robin, and I am once and forever trans.
I am Ben, and I am unapologetically and loudly trans.
All right, be good to each other. Trans solidarity forever. We will see you on the Discord and in the comments.
And thank you, Rayven.
Thank you, Rayven.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Whoa. You are such a cool dad to cats.
Chris gave birth to them.
He gave birth to them out of his pussy.
The pussy is where the pussies come from. Didn't you know?
Out of the fullness of the pussy.